Greetings, this is Charles Darwin, and we're continuing our examination of the Bible on the Darwin in the Bible channel. Now, mostly what you hear about the book of Genesis is the conflict between creation and evolution, evolutionary science as being the main flashpoint between the Bible and science. However, there are other sciences as well that the Bible would seem to indicate a more primitive view of. One of those is the science of genetics. And we can look at the 30th chapter of Genesis to see an example of this. Now, in the 30th chapter of Genesis, Jacob, who is the son of Isaac, who's the son of Abraham, Jacob wanted to marry Rachel. And Rachel's father, Laban, wanted Jacob to work for 7 years, herding his goats in order to win the right to marry his daughter. Now, Jacob was a very crafty man, but so was Laban. And here's what happened. Jacob took care of Laban's goats for 7 years, and then Laban said, okay, you can have my daughter. And so Jacob went into the tent on his wedding night, and behold, it was the wrong daughter. It wasn't Rachel whom he intended to marry, it was Leah, her sister. But for some reason, Jacob didn't notice. That seems kind of odd, but never mind, we'll let that one go. Anyway, he then was able to marry Rachel also. And however, during the 14 years, as it turned out to be a total of 14 years that Jacob had to work for Laban, Jacob decided that he would take some of Laban's wealth and he would do it in a technically permissible manner. And here's how he did it. He made a bargain with Laban and said, I'll take care of your goats, and whenever a pure white goat is born, you can have it. Whenever a pure black goat is born, you can have it. But whenever a goat that is speckled, spotted, or striped is born, then it's mine. And Laban thought, well, I don't really want the speckled, striped, and spotted ones anyway, so sure, you can have them. That sounds like a good deal to me. And then it turns out that generation after generation of goats, there were lots and lots of speckled, striped, and spotted goats that were born. How did Jacob do that? Well, the implication of the book of Genesis is that he did it this way. Jacob took, as it said, he took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the rods. He set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the runnels, that is, the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink, and when they bred when they came to drink. So while the goats were screwing, they looked at these stripes, and as a result of looking at these stripes, they had striped, speckled, and spotted offspring. Now today this is known as Lamarckism, the inheritance of acquired characteristics. For instance, something happens to you, you can pass that on to your offspring. We now know that that is not the case, that it has to be something that's inside the DNA of your chromosomes in your cells that's passed on in order to go from one generation to the next. That Lamarckism is wrong. Now, the Bible, of course, whoever wrote this passage in Genesis couldn't have known any better. Before the time of Gregor Mendel, the 19th century monk who worked with pea plants and understood and led us to understand the basic principles of inheritance, nobody understood how inheritance worked. So the Bible was no different from any of the other writings of its time, no problem, unless, that is, you try to base your science upon the Bible. At least that's what it would appear, is that Jacob thought that he had made the goats have striped, speckled, and spotted offspring by putting those rods in front of the watering troughs. Well, maybe that's not what was happening, however. Maybe what was happening was that the pure white goats were what we would call homozygotes. That is, that they were pure for the white color, genetically. And similarly, the black goats were also homozygotes. That is, they were pure for the black coloration. Whereas the goats that were striped, speckled, and spotted were of mixed genetic ancestry, that their genes were mixed together, that they were, to use the modern term, heterozygoats. This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and amen.